Greetings from the house of Mima. Today we are treating the topic of long-distance marriages. As many of you know, it has become almost common practice to have our young people that travel abroad for greener pastures marry foreign wives, come back home and marry African wives as well. As you know, many of our young men from here travel out of the country and marry foreigners for the sake of papers, for the sake of making money, and then they still come back home to marry African wives and try and see how they sustain two families at a time. With me now, I have two young women that are living that life and are here to share their experiences with us. Welcome, Mrs. Miracle.
Thank you for having me.
And welcome, Mrs. Joanne. Thank you both for coming. Okay, let's get straight to it. Tell us, what has your
Well, in all sincerity, I have no reason to be angry. I have almost everything I want or need. And my husband visits often.
Oh, I see. So how long do you intend to keep this and sustain this on and off marriage?
I would say it wouldn't be long because he told me everything before we got married. So I actually knew what I was getting myself into.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Yes.
By everything, what do you mean? What did he tell you?
Okay, he told me he had to marry a white lady so that way he'll be free to move around and do whatever he wants abroad. You know, the coverage, he needs it, yes. Although he said the woman is old, but he had to do it, you know. So with that in mind, I don't really have much to fear.
Okay. Madam Joanne, how about you? What has it been like for you?
My sister, I'm directly heading to hellfire, all in the name of marriage.
I'm sorry.
My husband never told me he has a wife abroad.
Wow.
He married me properly. This is 3 years of our marriage since he traveled. But we lost communication since then.
I'm so sorry to hear that. That's so sad. Please tell me, what efforts have you made to regain communication with him?
My dear, it was my inquest to ascertain what really happened that I was informed by someone that my husband has a wife and 2 kids. That my cause landed him in trouble. That the wife lady got to know about me and put him out.
So, because the white lady found out he had a Nigerian wife, she pushed him out.
Yes.
And now he doesn't have the papers to come home. Wow, that's so sad.
He has lost all the coverage with the white lady and he can't come home.
Wow. That's sad. I'm so sorry to hear this. I'm sorry. Please take it easy.
I don't know what to do again.
Please take it easy. I'm sorry. Sorry you had to go through this. Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Miracle, could you tell us, would you advise any young lady out there to do the same thing, to marry in this way?
No.
Really? Tell us
No.
why.
No, not at all. The road is tough. It takes the brave and the determined to walk on it. Imagine knowing your husband is out there with another woman and you're here, confined in the situation of waiting and hoping that he comes back someday to you. You're just like a married spinster.
Wow. That can't be easy. It can't be. It can't be. How about you? Would you advise anyone to marry in this way?
Never. Never will I allow someone to do that. As is even better, she knows. He got married to me. He got me pregnant and left without return.
So sorry.
It's not advisable at all. It is not.
I know.
Look at someone like me. I am caged. I am caged. I can't marry. I can't even go near a man without his permission. Our tradition is very, very strong. It's not easy.
I'm so sorry. So your tradition doesn't permit you or
It
allow
doesn't.
you have sexual intercourse with another man outside marriage.
Marriage, yeah.
So you cannot do anything until this marriage is dissolved.
Of course, yes.
Wow, it's unfortunate. I'm so sorry.
So sorry.
There you have it. Let us know that not everything that glitters is gold. And let us also be careful when we take decisions because they have far-reaching consequences on our tomorrow. Sometimes, not even just sometimes, most of the time, money should not be your driving force because money cannot buy you happiness and money is not everything. And marry foreigners in order to get papers and then come back home to marry African wives, referring to them as their real wives. This has affected so many young people. And the two young women we're treating today are at different crossroads in the matter.
You see, I have made research, and I will always start my weddings. Have you ever seen any building where they write drivers or cars are parked at owner's risk? It's a clear illustration of what has transpired. Yeah, well, because they are always in a hurry. That's why they feel it's another form of the normal Muslim they call Yahoo. Yahoo. They will come and deceive an African child and go and marry grandmother abroad. And you are playing with the person's emotion. I think EFCC or the relevant authority should arrest, detain, and prosecute such offenders. And for the ladies, I think it's long throat. Because you are not contented. You are contented. That is why they will tell you, okay, I'll go abroad and hustle in the local palace. You should, if you are truly married, you go together.
Oh, I actually do think that the contractual marriage between these young women from African countries to those in developed countries is what they call contract marriage. And it's actually a criminal offense. And our Nigerian women who go ahead to marry this one, some are in the know, some are not. If they are in the know and they go ahead to get married, they're actually being accessories in that crime that's happening abroad. On the other hand, if women want to protect themselves, or you're not sure if the man is honest or is not honest, then tell the man you want to go to the court, to registry, because then you're accountable by law. Because Section 35 of the Marriage Causes Act says that you can't be married under the law and then go ahead to marry, even under the customary court. You'll be liable to 5 years imprisonment. So of course, no right-thinking man will want to go to prison and they would just say, okay, no, I don't want to get married to you. So you have averted that disaster. But now we already have this thing happening right now with these two women. The only way they can actually seek some sort of legal redress is by doing what they ought to do, which is annul the marriage, even traditionally. And the person who is so upset with herself because she damaged or spoiled his chances with the married woman or his wife abroad shouldn't have to do that because he's a criminal. So why should you be perturbed? Why should you be perturbed that you spoiled his chances? You are supposed to pick yourself up, take your kids, try and find out ways you can care for yourself, your kids, or the family of the man here, maybe caring for the kids one way or the other, and go with your life. You can meet somebody else who really like you. People can get married at any time.
This young lady is saying, traditionally, she cannot move on with her life until the man comes with his family to dissolve the marriage. What does she do now when the man and his family are not coming, are not even listening to her? They're coming to even try to dissolve the marriage so she can move on with her life.
The thing is, when there's a wrong, there's a remedy. Now, as a matter of fact, even if the husband, or quote, the husband in quote, because right now he's not really a husband, and the family refuse to go back to or accept the bride price, what usually happens is that local government, you find somebody who is either a chief or from that particular family who is willing to accept it. As long as one of the persons who is of that family of the man, and definitely there should always be one person. So as long as she can return the bride price, which I think is a is a very, very, very good thing to do, because then you're obeying the law of the land, quote. And then, of course, you are free to remarry, and you can always find somebody from that community who would agree to take the bride price back. And that's the end of the issue. She's free to go ahead with her life.
Well, in a situation where you don't find anybody, whether we like it or not, we still have a larger percentage of our citizens that believes in going abroad. And probably is the first person or the last person that will go abroad, and is the only person they are looking at that is feeding the family. Now you want to come and do this, the whole family, or probably the whole community, may be against the woman in the first place. What does she do?
It's very possible this lady is being enticed by words at the first instant. She doesn't even know the village where she is married to.
That's another thing.
This I love you started in township. I will marry you, and they started. You see, at the first instant is always sweet. Now it has gone sour. So, well, the solution, right as it is, I think she should just take the bull by the horn and quash the marriage and dump any consequences. Because if you, for instance, what Mrs. Elizabeth had just said, what if the whole community, which is really not possible, but the whole village to hate you? Someone must definitely hear you. So I think she should just move on with her life rather than causing more harm to herself. First and foremost, she is a human being before tradition. So laws are meant for human beings and not human beings for the law.
Do you believe in the tradition that states that if an African woman shares her bed with another man outside her husband, she'll get killed, or she'll run mad, or she'll lose a son, or her husband will die? Do you believe in this?
I believe in it. The reason why I believe in it is all of us here, we don't come from the same place. Your background is very important. The culture that governs where you are being raised is very, very important. If in a state, a particular culture emanates from where they say, okay, this is not going to be possible, this is how we do here, if you actually go against it, history has confirmed it, that what they say is going to happen to anybody that goes against that culture can actually happen. And it has been happening.
I think somebody somewhere need to rise up to the occasion to abolish distance. What about the men? If a woman shares her bed, what happens to the men is the other part. So I think in this area, they are not being fair to the women folks.
Yes, we have what they call Matrimonial Causes Act that protects you if you get married under the registry or a competent court of law. You are actually married before the law. It protects you. Even if the man sleeps outside, you want to seek redress, you can. If the woman sleeps outside, you want to, you see, it's not biased like traditional laws. We cannot totally expunge traditional laws, as he said. So if you know you want to be protected, then go ahead and get married under the registry. So the government is trying its best, I would say, to actually curb that. But of course, the government cannot take your hand and say, do not commit crimes, do not go abroad and get married to women and come here and get married to women. They can only tell you, see, I can protect you by giving you the right to get married under the law, so that if he does something wrong, I would actually punish him. So that's why I say, young women, go to the registry. Don't, if he wants to do just traditional marriage and he goes away, say no to that. Tell him instead, okay, let's do the court. You don't need to stress yourself and do the traditional marriage. When you're ready, you can come back, let's do the other things. It's then the law protects you, because you can't treat Paul this way and treat Peter this way. They are equal persons, partners in the marriage, institution called marriage. So that's my own thought, and the law's legal aspects of it, I just have to say.
Thank you all so much. There you have it. A lot of times, we take decisions as they are convenient for us. When we decide to choose culture and tradition only when it's convenient to a set of people, be it the men alone.
Meaning that your woman is made to live in fear that if she should cheat or do anything bad, something bad will happen to her. But as a man, that does not apply to you. You have express permission. In fact, if you don't even do it, you are even seen as a weak man. And so these things break us down. You see, I feel personally, you cannot mix culture and religion. And if you're a traditionalist, hey, I am African too, that is also fine. But let's not be confused. Let's not pick at our convenience, right? So let us do things fairly to one another and let us evolve. Culture is meant to shape us and help us get better, not oppress us, and push us to the ground. Welcome back. It's Lifelines with Mima, and we're discussing the issue of our young men that travel abroad and have wives there for the sake of their papers and come back home to still marry African wives, believing that the marriage to a foreigner is just on the basis of getting their papers, but their real marriage is the one that happens back home. And so we had two clients that came with two different perspectives on this matter. And I thought it's wise, after discussing with them and our discussants, I would like you to meet David Ashaolu. He is a top-notch Abuja-based lawyer, doing very well for himself. Thank you, sir, for joining us today.
You're welcome.
How have you been?
Very fine, thank you.
How's everything with you?
I'm not doing badly, and it's a very good show you guys have up with running here.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And so we had two young women come in, and their issue was, one of them was saying that she married a man without knowing that he already was married to a white woman abroad. He came home and married her almost like everything was normal. Now she's having issues because the white woman has found out about the marriage and halted the process of him getting his papers, which has angered him against her. He's not been communicating with her, and she's come in tears to look for solutions. What can she do, even to get him, to reach him? Who does she go to? Does she get redress anyway, or how do we treat her matter?
So it depends on a number of factors. Okay. One, the country where the young man lives or resides has a major role to play in this. There's a principle of reciprocity, which says two countries, Nigeria and say United States, agree to give the same treatment to the same issues. So in this context, a marriage that is valid in Nigeria will be regarded as a valid marriage in the United States. So if that is the case, and the young man was prior married in the United States, for instance, then his marriage in Nigeria to this young lady is null and void.
Wow.
Because you cannot be married twice.
Wow. So it even means officially she is not married to him. Technically, they are not married.
That's correct.
Wow.
There's a caveat though. We also have to decide or determine the kind of marriage they had here in Nigeria. Was it a marriage at the registry, or was it just some traditional marriage? So if it's a marriage at the registry, then null and void. But if it's a traditional marriage, then the Marriage Act does not have a jurisdiction in that matter. So we have to then consider other factors. Native law and custom of the parties, whether traditional, whether polyandry or polygyny as it were, is allowed in the customs. But generally, you cannot marry twice. So the second marriage, so let's just assume for the sake of this conversation that they had marriage at the registry. So the second marriage here is just a purported marriage. It's not a valid marriage. So what she would have to do is approach the court here, then get an order for the court to annul or void the marriage. Then she's a free person. Then she can go ahead and live her life.
So for the young man involved, does he get to just walk away from all of this? He's kept out for what, 4 or 5 years, stranded. What does he just get off like that?
What we need to understand is in Nigeria, it's a crime to marry twice. It's called bigamy. And the punishment according to the Marriage Act is 5 years. So it doesn't get to get away with it, but where is he?
Where is he?
Do you understand? If you can't catch a culprit, you can't put him in prison. You said she can't reach him.
Yeah.
So that makes it difficult.
Yeah, he's cut off communication. So is there no law that makes provisions for, someone like this now, reporting maybe to Interpol or an agency abroad that can
Before you
trace.
can get international criminal justice involved, has to have been an international crime. So in this context, I don't see, if it had been that he went into a contract marriage with a lady abroad for the purpose of his papers, and the two of them knew fully well that they were doing it just to deceive the government, that's fraud. You can get Interpol involved in something like that. Because that's a federal offense in the United States. But for Nigeria, bigamy is not an international crime that will require getting it. If fraud had been involved, if he had taken her money, or if he had involved in wire fraud, international crimes, then yeah, maybe Interpol would look at it. But then, just from what you've told me so far,
There's no basis.
I never tell my clients something can't be done, but I just tell them, you don't want to go the route of frivolities. So this could be a frivolous case for Interpol to look at.
That's sad. Okay, so what advice would you give to some of these young women that end up marrying these guys that come from abroad?
There have been successful marriages with people that live abroad. I know a couple. Okay, so there are procedures. In fact, as a Nigerian, you can get study abroad. After your studies, apply to get an H1B1 visa. Then when you get sponsored for the H1B, because get H1B1 visa simply means you are sponsored by your employer, that you're working with them and that they'll be responsible for you. 2 years thereabouts. So when you get your H1B1 visa, you can file what is called the H4 visa for your wife, who is in Nigeria. And then when your wife gets the visa, she can come join you in the United States. Now this is legally, yes. Now this is US law. That's why I'm saying you don't have to then marry, because with an H1B visa, you work, you can renew your H1B visa, and then after a certain time, you can apply for permanent residency, and then you can even apply to become a citizen. So there are other routes to getting permanent residency and becoming an American citizen, that you don't have to marry, necessarily have to marry a foreigner, yes.
Because a lot of our boys are paying a lot of money.
It's faster.
Just to marry.
And that's because it's faster. So you marry a foreigner and then immediately you get a permanent residency. And then you have 2 years to renew your permanent residency. So you must stay married for 2 years at least. So when you renew the permanent residency, I think the second renewal is for like about 10 years or thereabouts. So with the second permanent residency, within the 10 years, you can call off the relationship, then, sort yourself out, and then bring your wife from Nigeria back to come meet you in the United States. So they do these things. Although, as I said earlier, contract marriage is a crime. It's a federal crime in the United States. So I advise guys, that are looking for a path to citizenship in the United States, not to involve in contract marriage. It's a crime.
It's fraudulent.
It's fraudulent, yes it is.
Wow, thank you so much. We've learned a lot. Thank you
You're
for
welcome,
coming.
Mima.
We appreciate you.
You're welcome.
There you have it. We need to be careful, and we need to get good information and advice before we take critical steps that change our lives and the lives of those that we love. Welcome back. This is all the time that we have. It's time for us to go now. But before we go, I'd like us to remember everything we have heard about this particular subject from everyone that has talked to us about it and those that are living the experience. I receive calls every day in my practice, and so many people are left stranded in this condition. I want to appeal to those that are in it. At least be honest with all parties involved, and at least make it known to them the kind of risk that you are taking. At the end of the day, it's not always about naira and kobo. It is about matters of the heart. It is about putting people in difficult situations, even though we love them. From me to you, and until I see you next time, don't forget that you don't need to go through life's issues alone. You know why? Mima cares.